Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Another day, another vlog, another video, another reality check. Because this is what I do. I help you decide and I help you see the reality here in the Philippines without actually coming here. So if you're planning to move to the Philippines, slow down because this country is not what you think it is. It's beautiful, yeah, but it can also break you if you come unprepared. So before you pack your bags, here are some signs you're actually ready for the Philippines. And it's not just chasing a tropical dream, the reality. First is you can handle attention without ego. When you move to the Philippines, you're going to get extra attention and not always the good kind. People will stare, people will ask questions, people will judge, and yes, people will overprice you just because you're a foreigner. They overprice you because they assume you have money. They overprice you because they assume money comes easy to you. They assume you don't struggle the way normal Filipinos do. So in their mind, charging you more is a fair game. I know this is not right, it's not moral, but it's reality. And that is actually what happens here. And this is where ego becomes your biggest enemy. If every time someone tries to overcharge you, you blow up or you take it as a personal attack, you're going to be miserable here because this happens everywhere at the market, transportation, in small stores, everywhere people think you're new and clueless. So the overcharging stops only when people realize you're no longer a quick target, not because they suddenly respect foreigners, but because they finally understand you're not as rich as they imagined and you actually know the correct prices already. So once locals see you regularly buying the same items, riding the same routes, paying the right amount, no, oh, keep the change. Not like that. You don't do that, then the foreigner tax, the skin tax disappears. And it disappears not out of respect, but out of familiarity and the simple fact that they can't fool you anymore. This is why ego control matters because if you can't handle that early phase, that early stage, the staring, the testing, the opportunistic behavior, you will develop a hatred for a country or people who are just trying to, survive and make more in a day through you, a foreigner. I'm not justifying it. I am speaking about the reality. I'm speaking, I'm not speaking about how it should be, but I'm speaking about how it is here. So if you can stay calm, stay observant, correct people politely, yes, politely, and show that you know the real price, then people eventually stop trying. That is very important. You have to find a way to correct the people politely. I know it's not your job to teach people respect because they're adults. But if that is the only way to get you out of, trouble or hating eyes, just make sure that you don't hurt feelings because Filipinos are also sensitive. Once they understood they can't overprice you anymore, that's when life becomes smoother for you. And by the way, that is just in one place. If you move to another place, you will have the same exact experience. You start from scratch again. Your first year will be a lot of overcharging. So if you can't keep your cool every time they overprice you, if you cannot do that, then you're not ready for the Philippines. You're gonna get frustrated. The next one is you know when to stay out of politics. If you don't know it yet, the political atmosphere in the Philippines right now is tense and very under heavy scrutiny. So, from Filipinos online, from the international community, and from anyone really paying attention. Emotions are high, people are divided, and politics is treated less like a discussion and more like a war. If you're planning to live in the Philippines, here's a rule you need to understand on day one: stay out of Philippine politics. Even if you want so bad to help your Filipino friends to understand how a politician is not good for the country or for the people, for everyone, for them, even if you are really concerned and you really care, just don't. I know how it feels like. I want it, but I don't do it because no one does that here. We don't discuss our political views with our peers, with our family. We do, but with our friends and strangers, we just don't. It's an elephant in the room, and you should not do it too. Not because you don't have an opinion, but because Filipinos are not open to hearing your opinion. Politics here is not a debate. It is not an exchange of ideas. It's tribal. It's emotional. People support politicians the same way they support celebrities, with loyalty, family tradition, not with policy analysis or logic. Blind following. So if you try educating Filipinos on corruption, good governance, or why a certain politician is dangerous, don't be surprised when people shut down or get offended or turn hostile. They don't want your input. They don't care how things work in your country. They're not interested in Western political perspective. And honestly, they will take it as an insult because to them, you are criticizing their identity, not their government. If you think that the Philippines is a place where you can openly debate ideas like in the US or in Europe, you're wrong. The political culture here is deeply personal. People vote based on family loyalty, celebrity worship, or emotional narratives. And when you challenge that, it's like you are attacking their family. And there's something even more serious. There is a law that can deport you for participating in political activities. Yes, deport you. Foreigners are legally prohibited from joining protests, political rallies, or anything that can be interpreted as influencing political discourse. You can literally get kicked out of the country for standing in the wrong place with the wrong group of people at the wrong time. And saying, oh, I didn't know, won't save you. It's an actual risk. People have been deported for less. So if you're the type who loves debating politics, correcting people's political opinions, or lecturing locals on how democracy should work, you're going to create problems for yourself fast. But if you know how to stay quiet, if you know how to observe without inserting yourself, if you know how to keep your opinions to yourself, especially on topics like, presidents, elections, political families, vote buying, and then you're mature enough to live in the Philippines. If you can do that, you can resist the urge to debate, correct, or lecture your Filipino family or your relatives or your Filipino friends. You live peacefully here. You will not create hard feelings with anyone. If a Filipino brings up politics, act like you're simply curious, let them talk, understand their stance, and only share your own opinion if you realize that you're aligned. Next is you can spot generosity from hidden dependence. What does that mean? One of the most confusing parts of living in the Philippines, especially for foreigners, is trying to tell the difference between real kindness and kindness that comes with expectations. And trust me, the line is very thin because Filipinos are generous, extremely. People will share food with you even if they barely have enough for themselves. They'll offer help, give gifts, make you feel included, treat you like family. And a lot of that is genuine. That part of the culture is real. But the other side is also real. Sometimes generosity is mixed with dependency, ulterior motives, or financial expectations. Not always malicious, but definitely strategic. And if you can't recognize the difference, you'll end up drained emotionally and financially. So you'll meet people who go out of their way to help you, then suddenly start asking for small favors that grow in size every month. You'll meet someone who's kind to you because they like you, genuinely, and someone else who's kind because they think you can solve all their problems. You'll meet people who promise friendship, but what they're really looking for is a sponsor. And here's the tricky part. Filipinos don't always ask directly. They tell stories, they drop hints, they make you feel like helping them is the natural, moral thing to do. If you're not emotionally aware, you'll confuse every sub story with genuine suffering and every request with real need. And before you know it, you're paying for someone's bills, someone's repairs, someone's school fees, and you don't even know how it started. That's why emotional intelligence is essential here. Some of us don't have that, but because you are the foreigner, you are the one who needs to adjust and not us adjusting to you. That is the reality. Everywhere you go, it's going to be like that. You need to be able to give without guilt and say no without shame. Because if you don't set boundaries, people won't set them for you. But then again, this doesn't mean Filipinos are bad. It just means life is hard here. When people see opportunity, they take it. Some take it honestly, some take it softly, and some take it with a smile that hides expectations. You have to learn to say no without feeling guilty. Like I said, you are not a savior, you are not a bank, you are not responsible for solving someone else's life problems. You can help when you want to help, but never because you feel pressured, cornered, or emotionally manipulated. But don't swing to the extreme either, to the other extreme. Don't become paranoid. Don't assume everyone has bad intentions. Because some people, a lot of people will treat you genuinely, protect you, and give you, and give to you even when they have nothing. If you can protect your wallet without closing your heart, if you can build relationships without becoming someone's lifeline, if you can give wisely and say no confidently, then yes, you're ready for the Philippines. Because if you can't do that, you will attract the wrong people fast. But if you can spot the patterns, stay grounded, and protect your peace, then you'll find the Filipinos who are truly your people. The ones who give with no strings attached. Because, in the Philippines, generosity is everywhere. You just need the wisdom to know which kind is real. You can stay grounded when everything feels temporary. One thing you don't realize before moving to the Philippines is how unstable many things feel here. Not because life is chaotic, but because very few things are designed for long term certainty. And if you're someone who needs stability in order to feel safe, in order to function, you're going to struggle a lot. Because in the Philippines, a lot of life feels temporary. A lot of things feels temporary here. Friendships form fast. Businesses open and close overnight. Plans change, agreements shift. People say yes today and no tomorrow. You can sign a contract now and still have surprises waiting for you next week. It's because the system will move within our unstable and makes us Filipinos unreliable too. Life here is influenced by weather, traffic, family emergencies, money, shortages, last minute obligations, and cultural norms that prioritize flexibility over consistency. Even infrastructure feels temporary. A road gets fixed only to be dug up again 2 months later. A power line gets repaired and then the next storm wipes it out. You will feel this instability immediately. I mean, maybe some of you or most of you come from countries where everything is scheduled, predictable, documented, and long lasting, high quality, high standard. Here, everything feels like it's held together by improvisation and prayer. And this is going to affect your social life too. You'll meet someone and connect deeply only for them to disappear because they move, to other province or change jobs, or they just really suddenly change their mind. If you're not grounded internally, that can feel destabilizing. It makes you question people's loyalty, their commitment, their intentions. But again, it's not personal. It's just the nature of society where survival requires flexibility. So the real test is, can you stay emotionally centered even when external things keep shifting, keeps moving, keeps changing? Can you create routine in a place where routine is constantly interrupted? Can you stay calm when plans fall apart because, sir, ma'am, the person in charge is not here today. Can you come back next week? I don't know where did they go. If you can't handle unpredictability, you will burn out. But if you have the emotional grounding to adapt, if you can stay centered in a place where everything outside of you feels temporary, then you will thrive here because the Philippines rewards people who can adjust, who can improvise, and keep moving forward without falling apart when life doesn't follow as you planned. You can see hope and failure coexisting. If there's one thing that defines the Philippines more than anything else, it's this: hope and failure live side by side. And if you can't see both at the same time, you'll never truly understand this country. Because when you move here, you will see contradictions everywhere. You'll see kids walking to school barefoot beside a brand new SUV. You'll see billion peso development in cities while families live in makeshift homes right across the street. You'll see politicians preaching honesty on camera while stealing behind the scenes. You'll see grand speeches about progress while the same problems repeat year after year. And the emotional challenge most foreigners aren't prepared for is that you have to look at all of this, the inequality, the corruption, the broken system, and still recognize the strength, the resilience, and the optimism that keeps this country moving forward. I know it's hard to do that. I lose hope. I cannot even do that myself. The Philippines is not a place where everything works. It's a place where people work despite everything. Filipinos will smile in situations that would break most people. They'll celebrate with nothing. They'll rebuild with nothing. They'll restart again and again and again, even when the system gives them every reason to give up. But if you only see the failure, you'll become bitter. It's true. You'll turn into that foreigner who complains every day. I'm actually turning into something like that already. And I'm not even a foreigner in my country. Just because I've seen how efficient other countries are, I just wish Philippines can be a little bit the same. Can be a little, at least a little bit. So trust me, I understand that kind of feeling. I do. I feel the same way. Understand that kind of feeling. It's hard to be hopeful in this country. But, also, if all you see is hope, if you romanticize everything, you'll become delusional. That is also true. You'll become naive and easily exploited, easily fooled, easily scammed. You have to hold both truths at the same time. You have to see the beauty and the dysfunction. You have to recognize what makes the Philippines magical and what makes it exhausting. This country will show you the best of humanity and the worst of bureaucracy, often in the same week. It will give you sunsets, beautiful sunsets that, look unreal, and then give you blackouts an hour later. It will give you genuine kindness from strangers and then give you government offices that feel like punishment. If you're the type of person who can only handle perfection, structure, and predictability, like I said in the beginning, you will not survive here. You will drown in frustration. It's so funny because I feel all of this that I am telling you now. I also should apply it to myself. I get frustrated all the time. So yeah, if we can look at a place that is imperfect, unfair, sometimes corrupt, sometimes chaotic, and still see value, still see potential, still see humanity, then we are ready for the Philippines. The older I become, the I realize I am not ready for the Philippines. Even though I've lived my whole life in the Philippines, we should be able to accept that a country can be broken in many ways and still worth loving. I love Philippines. I just don't. Never mind. Next thing is you can laugh in moments that don't deserve laughter. What? So another thing that would shock you is how Filipinos respond to crisis. And no, I'm not talking about how unprepared we are or uh, how we neglect infrastructure or how we just let disaster repeat year after year. I'm talking about our character once the crisis actually hits. Because the emotional culture here is completely different from what you're used to in your country. In the West or in developed countries, when something bad happens, people freeze, people panic or get serious. Here in the Philippines, people laugh, people joke, people make memes during the disaster. You'll see people joking while standing in waist-deep flood water. You'll see families smiling in evacuation centers after their houses were washed away. And this mindset goes even deeper when it comes to death. Yes, death. Filipinos don't do quiet funerals. Have you guys seen a funeral in the Philippines? They celebrate the dead. 9 nights of gathering, sometimes less, sometimes more. People talking, eating, playing cards. Some families bring out karaoke machines right outside the house. They sing, they cry, they laugh, sometimes all in the same 5 minutes. And if you visit a cemetery during, the All Souls Day, also All Saints Day, we call it Undas here in the Philippines. It looks like a festival. Families set up food, light candles, tell stories, laugh loudly. They even do karaoke's in the graveyards. Kids running around graves like it's a playground. Some even bring speakers, like I said, and party right beside the tombstone. To foreigners, it looks disrespectful, maybe. To Filipinos, it's love. Because here, grief and celebration are the same thing. You honor someone's life by refusing to freeze in sorrow. You sing for them, we laugh for them, we show up with the entire family so that that person isn't alone. So this emotional culture is completely different from what foreigners know. And to a foreigner, to you, if you're a foreigner here in this country, this can look insane. It can look insensitive, childish, or like people are avoiding reality. But that's because you're interpreting it through your cultural lens. Some foreigners struggle to understand and they get frustrated about this because when everything falls apart, a flood, a power outage, losing something important, um, they expect seriousness, urgency, and emotional focus. But the Philippine response is the opposite. Okay, this is terrible, but let's not drown in the sadness. Let's find something to smile about. And I'm not gonna lie, it frustrates me too. I feel like I could never understand that kind of feeling, smiling when everything falls apart. I don't know. I am not resilient enough, maybe, like most Filipinos, or I'm just realist. Because sometimes times like this are not for karaoke's. But apparently, most Filipinos just shrug it off. They're amazing. It's just hard to understand for me as well. So, if you're the type who needs emotional order, if you need people to be serious when things are serious, if you get offended by humor in moments of chaos, you're going to misinterpret this culture as being careless or irresponsible. It's not carelessness, they call it resilience. F resilience, we need accountability. Oops, sorry, I got carried away. Yeah, it's a way to stay human in a country where struggle is part of the daily routine. So if you can find humor in the chaos, not because the situation is funny, but because you choose not to let it crush you, then yes, you're ready to live here. Welcome. Okay, you don't need constant stimulation. You need patience. When I say life is slower in the Philippines, I can talk about peaceful island vibes or relaxed afternoons like right now. But that is not what's going to test you. I'm talking about the system itself, the entire structure of how things move here. And if you're the type of person who needs everything to be fast, organized, efficient, and logical, this country will challenge you every single day. Because the truth is, everything in the Philippines moves slower, from government offices to banks to grocery stores to customer service. Even the most basic errands can feel like an Olympic sports in patience. Let's first talk about the government. If you've never tried getting a driver's license, renewing an ID, or extending a visa here, brace yourself. Some processes literally feel like they're from 50 or maybe 100 years ago. You'll wait in lines that doesn't move. You'll collect papers that nobody explains. Why? Do you need that paper? You'll deal with steps that make absolutely no sense. Steps that exist not because they're necessary, but because the system never evolved. And if you try to understand why things are done this way, good luck. I'm a Filipino, I never understand. And, don't try to understand, you'll just get confused. Even if many Filipinos speak English, expressing instructions clearly is still a struggle. You'll ask a simple question and walk away even more confused. Most foreigners eventually just give up, pay whatever fee they're told to pay, and leave. I mean, I know not because you are lazy, but because the process is mentally draining. And even when the government tries to modernize, it becomes its own joke. They move things online, for example, but then requires you to go to the office in person to finish the online application or to finish something that is needed before you can do the online thing. So now it's online, offline, like some kind of bureaucratic obstacle course. It's the truth. I am not making up stories here. It's actually funny. At this point, you start asking yourself, can't we just go back to everything being in person so at least it makes more sense, even if it still doesn't make sense? And it's not just government. Go to a grocery store, watch the speed of the cashiers and the baggers, and everyone. Nobody's rushing, nobody is stressed. Everything is chill, painfully chill. Meanwhile, you compare it to Europe or the US where cashiers can, scan 50 items in 30 seconds. There were times when I was in Europe, I wanted to like film it, at least like the speed of their movement, but I couldn't because I couldn't even keep up. And I have like there was one I had like, I don't know, like 5 pieces or like maybe 10 pieces of grocery, like banana, chocolates, canned goods. And the cashier was so fast, I didn't have time. She finished scanning all my items, and I was still putting, and I know I feel like I am too slow, and that I already need to pay, but I am still putting all my things in the bag. It's so funny. Yeah, here one item feels like a negotiation, and you can't help but wonder if we raise the salary and require this kind of speed, can they even keep up? Can we keep up with that? Can the cashiers here keep up with that? This is not an insult. This is an observation. Because the Philippines is not, built for efficiency. It's built for tolerance, patience. And that's the point. If you're someone who needs everything to be fast, like I said, or logical or structured, the Philippines will not just test your patience, it will expose your lack of it. But if you can wait, if you can breathe, if you can accept things are slow because the system is slow, not because people are personally trying to ruin your day, then you're ready. Because living here requires patience, not entertainment. At the end of the day, moving to the Philippines isn't about escaping your old life or chasing some tropical fantasy. It's about knowing who you are. Maybe that's the reason. Maybe that is the purpose. And whether you're built for a place that's beautiful, frustrating, unpredictable, and full of heart all at the same time, the Philippines will challenge you. It will slow you down, really. It will expose your impatience, your assumptions, your ego, and it will force you to grow in ways you didn't expect. So ask yourself honestly, are you truly ready for the Philippines if you're planning to move here? Not the postcard version, not the tourist version, the real version. If the answer is yes, then you're not just ready to move here. You're ready to understand this place on a level most people never reach. Thank you so much for watching. If this video gave you something to think about, make sure you subscribe, share your thoughts in the comment section, and I'll see you in the next one. Ciao.